There's something missing from this combat scene in Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Look and tell me what's missing. It's something present in nearly every combat game in existence. Some missing information. Dead Space made history by incorporating the health bar into its character design, but that's not what's happening here. The health bar hasn't been relocated, it's been removed. It's indicative of a design choice consistent throughout Hellblade. Find ways to communicate information without breaking the fourth wall, without reminding players that this is a video game. Hellblade is an exploration of character and mental illness, and as such requires total immersion. So it removes or obfuscates any information that usually comes directly from the game maker to the game player. And it finds unique, creative, in-world ways to convey this information to the player without them even realizing that's what's going on. But before we get to how, its puzzles are a good example of why it goes to great lengths to avoid being a video game. A common reaction to puzzles is players trying to guess the mind of the puzzle designer. But puzzles in Hellblade aren't for gaining insight into the developer's mind. They're for gaining insight about Senua's. The puzzles have a purpose that isn't just making you feel clever for solving them. It's not about you, the player, or Ninja Theory, the developer. It's about Senua. The puzzles, no, the entirety of Hellblade communicates a great deal about her very precisely. To get it, you need to believe that Senua is the source of that communication. It's vitally important the developers take themselves out of the picture to get across the greater meaning of the game. So health is not a sticker pasted up on the fourth wall, and is instead communicated physically. Senua goes down hard and has to fight to get back up. Look how sluggish she's become. With a controller in your hand, she feels twice as slow, twice as hurt. This communicates the health status of Senua, but also her desperation, her suffering, her struggle. It provides a much more emotional connection to her than any HUD-based way of doing it. By altering her movement, her mechanics, you can feel her injury. It communicates more than the health bar, but not as accurately. I'm not sure exactly how close to death I am here, but it's a sacrifice Ninja Theory was willing to make, and I support their decision. If you do survive the encounter and go on to defeat the game's first boss, there's no loot, no XP gain, no quest completed text popping up. Rewards too are not something that sit on top, outside of Senua's world, but something that are a part of it, a part of her experience. Having bested her demons, once bleak, inhospitable landscapes turn a welcoming lush green. Among the chorus of voices she hears, the more spiteful ones remain blissfully silent, leaving only the warm and comforting ones in your ear. Voices, yes. Senua suffers from psychosis. She hears voices that aren't there. Her psychosis is a huge theme of the game, and the voices are perhaps the biggest part of it. But they serve a secondary duty. Here's a demonstration.
I think the darkness changed them, just like it changed her.
Can you see them? Over there. Why isn't she looking? Why aren't you looking? He's in hell.
Not trying to be mean here, but I really hope you missed the point. Because missing it, not noticing, is the whole point. For some context, here's a scene with exactly the same purpose in the new God of War. Yes, this scene was teaching you how to look around with the controls, all so smoothly that I, and hopefully you, didn't even notice. Okay, maybe you noticed, but it's hard to be subtle with such a short clip. Inside the larger game, the effect flies much lower under your radar. This method is used throughout the game to explain all the controls and even new mechanics.
Why isn't she focusing? She needs to focus now.
Defend yourself! Get out of the way! Quickly get up! They're coming!
They tell you what to do, but not how to do it. There's no mention of left stick or right mouse. No mention of anything that's part of our world, but not Senua's. So you experiment, discovering the controls on your own. It's more engaging than the usual video game Simon Says, but more importantly than that, there's no Simon here. Graphics and text popping up on screen often feels like an email from the developers to the player. These instructions, this communication, exists separately to the game world and has a de-immersive effect. But with Senua, the voices are in her head. They're part of the character. They're part of the story. They're immersive. For a game filled with voices, the developers is not one of them. They remain silent, or at least hidden, speaking only through proxy. Anything that could remind you you're playing a game is intentionally absent. So the instructions are weaved into the narrative. Things usually communicated by a HUD, like health bars, have found physical or vocal ways to be expressed. The controls are left for you to discover, and showing lost players where to go is not handled by waypoints, nor sentient compasses or magical maps. You are again guided by voices.
The old fool said there was a hidden path up to it. Let's see, shall we?
Okay, far too often the effect is not subtle enough.
How will she get through?
She'll need to find another way.
Truth said, find your own path.
There's always another way.
There's always a way.
Find your own way.
You just have to find it.
And it's definitely not the only game to provide guidance from an in-world source. Every game with a constant companion has done this, going all the way back to Half-Life 2. But having constant companions trades one immersion break for another. Why are all my friends immortal? Radios work, but only for modern settings, and they've often been done quite boringly, and honestly, they've been done. Having the instructions come from such an interesting, unexplored source enables them to do things that traditional games usually don't, like having instructions that conflict with each other.
Go towards the light.
It's him.
There he is.
It can't be him. It's just a trick. It's in your mind.
No, he's here.
It's in your
It's
mind.
him, it's real.
Unlike emails from the all-knowing developer gods, the voices in Senua's head can be unreliable, making you doubt the very instructions themselves. Sometimes they lead, sometimes they mislead. If they did it with regular game communication, I'd find it incredibly annoying. It would break the unspoken trust between game and player. And if they did it with a constant companion, I'd want to either abandon or murder them. Here there's no such problems. Because of the nature of the voices, the whole thing works, and it makes you work. Instead of blindly following everything you're told, you doubt and analyze each instruction. The unreliable narrator is a common device in literature and film, but this is it for video games. But it doesn't lean into this as much as I wanted it to. There's lots of unreliable narration, but no real decisions to make. I'm not the biggest fan of linear games, but I'm making an exception for an exceptional game. Hellblade has reasons for not offering choice, reasons I unfortunately can't get into without ruining it for you. In this video, I've shown a secondary function of the voices, to hide the game so you can better immerse yourself in the world. Their primary purpose is to communicate what it's like to be Senua, to be in her mind, her psychosis. The voices deliver her story, her character, her history, and her madness. The voices are not just some gimmick, they're used with great care to communicate a great deal. If you want to understand psychosis, what hearing voices is like, and who Senua is,
Why don't you join us? Maybe you too have a part to play in this story.